guys, welcome back to Book Talk with Meg. My name is Megan for those of you who are new. Hi, welcome, hope you stick around. If you decide to, do not forget to click the subscribe button down below. It'll notify you when I upload new videos. Today I'm here coming to you guys in the internet to basically talk about what I can consider now one of my favorite books from 2018. The book I want to talk about is Listen to Your Heart by Kasie West. This is a young adult contemporary book. It is published by Point, which is an imprint from Scholastic. Overall, I read this book in a span of 24 hours. It is a very easy read. It reads very quickly, and I decided to give this book a 5-star rating. So this book mainly focuses on our main character, who is named Kate, and basically she is more of a I want to be alone kind of person. She likes to spend her time on the lake, and she doesn't really enjoy meeting new people. This book basically takes off where Kate's friend kind of like pushes her to take this podcasting class where they make a podcast for the entire semester, and basically they all have to give suggestions, and the podcast ends up being about advice. So basically it's advice that relates to teenagers, and our main character obviously becomes a co-host. A lot of relationship forms, there's a lot of family in this book, and it is a very well-rounded contemporary which does not only focus on romance but teenagers and the questions you can have and how to operate with bigger families. So the first point I want to mention about this book is how credible the characters are. I think that was one of the strongest points in this book. I personally could very much relate to our main character Kate for several reasons. One, that I'm not much of a people person. I enjoy the presence of people, but I'd rather be by myself, obviously. Also for the aspect of the lake and just enjoying the outdoors. This was really present in this book, and I found myself enjoying the fact that for once a contemporary book can focus on something else than just let's go shopping or let's go to the beach. This character is I want to go on my wave runner and I want to go out on the actual lake and do these things and maybe talk about fishing. You know, it's not just so many girly stereotypes. She's actually doing stuff for herself that she really enjoys. I feel like the best friend also was credible in the sense that they brought the teenage aspect of more of the insecurities of high school and wanting a relationship, and I feel like her best friend really well represented that. And also she's not a best friend that secretly hates her main character. I feel like she was there for her main character to support her, and they were actually healthy best friends, which was interesting to see. And obviously there is also kind of more of a relationship to this side, and I really enjoyed the relationship. It was more of a slow burn romance. It wasn't insta-love. So for you guys who don't really like insta-love, this could definitely be a contemporary to pick up, although there are little cues of romance here and there. I feel like there are some points in here that were really interesting because basically this, again, is not much of a spoiler, but they focus on the podcast. You don't actually have to say who you are when you call into the podcast for advice, and I feel like the main character really has to deal with the secrecy of people, and I feel like that isn't really touched on in YA books. So I found it was interesting that sometimes you feel like you should tell someone I know who you are, or I can help you, and they can't because confidentiality is part of a podcast and that kind of stuff. And there's also the aspect of trying to help people but not knowing who they are, because this book does touch on more serious topics, and although the main character wants to do things for the other characters, you can't always help them because you don't know who they are necessarily, and you just give the best advice you can on the spot, but you can't help them more than that. So it kind of stresses our main character out, and I feel like it's an interesting way to see how sometimes we are powerless in helping other people in their problem. Obviously my favorite character was Kate, and just for the fact that I can relate to her, but I feel like the side characters were all really well done. I really loved her best friend. I love the relationship with her, not necessarily siblings but cousins. It's a weird living arrangement you guys will see if you pick this book up, but I feel like it was really well done. The family dynamics were really well created, very realistic about how you have to care for other family members who are almost kind of like your siblings and how big families operate. And it was a very interesting side to the story. If I would have made my contemporary week video, which I'll pop up here, about families, I think I would have included this one inside for sure, because it's a great family dynamic representation. I think my favorite part of the book was definitely the podcast and lake parts to it. I feel like the podcast was always so interesting to read about, like the process and how like the media aspect of the podcast and how they actually go about doing the podcast. It was interesting to me, and even like what the other characters would call in to ask about. I feel like if I would be interested to see what actually people would call about with that type of podcast if I had one in my school, for example. And I also like just the lake in general and like the marina vibes, because it is summer and I read this when I was like near the lake, so it gave me all the vibes, and I feel like it was really accurately represented, and like the love of the character for the lake really shone through. So every time there was a mention of the lake, I was really happy because the character sounded happy. Obviously I gave this book 5 stars, so I don't see much of anything that is wrong with this book, but I guess that if you don't like the complicated aspect of sometimes like two people falling for the same person, or you knowing, like, you know when you feel like characters are being stupid because like you know like okay, this person totally likes you or whatever. If you get frustrated with that kind of plot where you know what's happening but you want to scream at characters because you know when it seems so obvious, it might not be the type of book for you. But this definitely is my favorite Kasie West book. I feel like the writing was very engaging. It is a simple form of writing, so don't be looking for metaphors and similes and comparisons to I don't even know what. This is very simple writing, which makes it go by super fast. There is description, but again, if you guys are looking for a book filled with description, more like a fantasy writing style, this is definitely not for you. This is the kind of book I recommend to people who love contemporary or want to give it a shot. Obviously there is some romance, so if you're not a romance fan, probably not the best book for you, but it is a slow burn romance. So for all of you who don't really enjoy the insta-love tropes, I don't mind them, but this book definitely doesn't have the insta-love trope, which for a lot of people could be a plus. So if you were wondering if you should pick up this book, I obviously do really much recommend this book. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have read this book, comment down below. I'd love to chat with you guys about this book because I absolutely adored it. And on that note, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!